Everyone is avoiding Carlos Sainz like the plague. After Fernando Alonso's Aston Martin signing, teams are being stingy when it comes to offering the Spaniard a contract, despite his incredible performance on track. Lewis Hamilton set the clock ticking on Carlos Sainz's F1 tenure back in February, when he made the bombshell announcement of his move to Ferrari. Sainz has found himself in a tight spot. Despite the keen interest from top teams like Mercedes, Red Bull and Audi, each potential destination comes with its own set of challenges. Red Bull's team principal, Christian Horner, has extended a contract offer to Sainz, albeit one that's described as stingy. On the other hand, Mercedes, under the leadership of Toto Wolff, has allegedly made an offer that's not lacking in financial terms, but falls short in terms of the duration. Sainz, aiming for a 2+1 year deal with the Silver Arrows, was presented with a 1+1 year contract instead. Meanwhile, Audi, currently known as Sauber, has put forth a tempting offer, promising substantial financial rewards over a minimum span of 2 years, aligning with Sainz's preferences. However, the caveat lies in Audi's anticipated performance challenges upon their entry into F1 in 2026, a potential hurdle not faced by Red Bull or Mercedes. Amidst the mounting pressure from German manufacturers eager for his decision, Spanish F1 expert Albert Fabrega has issued a cautionary note to Sainz, advising him to steer clear of their enticing offers. Speaking on the F1 Nation podcast, he said, "Audi is a good option for the future, but I think it will be difficult for them. Sauber is a team that is now fighting to be in Q3, so there is still a lot of development to go on the chassis to be fighting with teams like Red Bull, or ones that are dominating F1. We know that Audi has a lot of heritage in F1, and a lot of success in different categories of motorsport. They will succeed in F1, but not sure if at the beginning. So for a driver like Carlos, who has been the only driver who has won a race apart from Red Bull, if you have the chance, you should try to go to a team that is fighting already for the podiums." In 2023, Red Bull faced a driver dilemma. Sergio Perez, despite clinching P2 in the Drivers' Championship, was only half as effective as Max Verstappen. While Perez appears to have made strides in 2024, Red Bull from Milton Keynes has yet to confirm his extension for 2025. Christian Horner and his team are opting to take their time to evaluate the situation before committing to re-signing him. This leaves Carlos Sainz in a tight spot, as remarked by Marco in quotes shared by GB fans. "There is a certain time pressure. If we are correctly informed, then Audi are putting pressure on Sainz, and they would like an answer as soon as possible. We're certainly not ready to make a decision yet." Even Carlos Sainz himself seems unsure about his future prospects, as evidenced by his lack of a clear answer when questioned. It appears that he might just be as confused about the situation as the rest of us are. Ahead of the Chinese Grand Prix, the Spaniard said, "I think for sure all my best options are still open, which I think is a positive thing, and something that obviously requires a bit of time, given the situation of the market." The driver hinted at the prolonged deliberations among stakeholders before a decision is reached. With Audi pushing for a response and Red Bull requesting additional time, Sainz could find himself with dwindling options. This situation might force him to consider Mercedes' offer on their terms, a scenario that may not necessarily align with his best interests. Could Carlos Sainz be sidelined for the 2025 Formula One season? That's a possibility suggested by Nico Rosberg, who has weighed in on the contract offered by Mercedes to the Spanish driver. With Fernando Alonso securing a multi-year extension with Aston Martin, only Mercedes and Red Bull remain as the top teams on Sainz's radar. Rosberg, a former Mercedes driver, has revealed that while Mercedes has indeed presented a contract to Sainz, it's not one that he's likely to like. During the same period when Charles Leclerc secured his extension with Ferrari, Carlos Sainz was engaged in talks for a long-term agreement with the Scuderia. His priority seems to be finding stability and security in his next move. But according to Rosberg, Mercedes has put forward an unappealing offer to Sainz. It makes sense that Mercedes doesn't see Sainz as a long-term solution, especially given Toto Wolff's focus on promoting their junior driver Kimi Antonelli alongside George Russell at the earliest opportunity. Would Carlos Sainz be inclined to accept such a deal, knowing that he could face a similar scenario just a year later? The odds are against it. Because of this, Rosberg suggests that Carlos Sainz is begging Red Bull for more. Christian Horner gave him a stingy offer as talks about his future in F1 unfold. Sainz's F1 journey began at Red Bull's sister team Toro Rosso in 2015, alongside Max Verstappen. A return to the World Champions could see him replacing Sergio Perez, whose contract ends this season. Despite the uncertainty surrounding Sergio Perez's future, the 2016 World Champion provided some insights into the paddock gossip during the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. He told Sky Sports, "You know that they have an offer out to Carlos Sainz. I saw Daddy Sainz speaking to Christian Horner yesterday because Horner has apparently been a bit stingy on the offer. so they're trying to get a couple more million out of him. And when talking about the driver selection for 2025, Christian Horner had this to say. As you can tell with the level of interest that we have had from other drivers in our seats, for a driver of Carlos's caliber, he wants to be in a winning car. And whilst we have one seat available for next year, his target inevitably is that seat. If Carlos Sainz doesn't like either offer from Mercedes or Red Bull, his options become limited. Where else can he go? The most viable opportunity left would be Sauber, transitioning into Audi's works team in 2026. But Sauber currently struggles at the bottom of the midfield pack, and despite Audi's full control over operations, rapid improvements are unlikely in just a few years. This situation has led Peter Windsor, former Ferrari manager, to propose that Sainz considers taking a sabbatical in 2025. On his YouTube channel, he said, "If he does have to sort of write off 2025, in a way, that would be a good year for him to sort of rebuild his style a little bit, and just capitalize on everything he's just done. I hope he does. I hope, if he has a bad year in 25 because there's nowhere to go apart from a plug-in Mercedes driver Sauber drive, then that would be a good year for him to rebuild some of his repertoire actually." Since Sainz found out that he has to leave Ferrari at season's end, he has been acting rebelliously. In the closing moments of the sprint race at the Shanghai International Circuit, tensions flared within the Ferrari team as their drivers engaged in a heated battle, resulting in contact, and Charles Leclerc briefly running off track. Leclerc voiced his discontent over the team radio, expressing that Sainz fought him harder than the other drivers, and later commented that his teammate had crossed a line, but Sainz didn't view the incident as severe. He addressed the intra-team battle in an interview with Spanish broadcaster DAZN. "It was a bit of a crazy race. What we did at the start cost both Charles and I 1 or 2 positions, and that cost us a lot in the race. Then we tried to follow the Mercedes. We tried to overtake him, but he stopped, and then we stopped. We put the hard tires on very early. In the last stint, I had to go very long, but we still managed to hang on for 5th, which I think was the maximum we could do. Honestly, we weren't very fast this weekend. When you qualify 6th and 7th, there's not a lot of pace in the car. In the race, we expected to be better, but we weren't, so clearly this is the circuit where we suffered the most. We need to check if we've done everything we could with the setup, and if not, it's time to work on the car, because this type of circuit didn't go well for us." Both drivers agreed to discuss the matter, and Leclerc confirmed that they had a conversation. "We spoke briefly before qualifying, and much longer after qualifying with Fred, and everything is fine. I'm not going into details, but as I said, sometimes I went over the limit, sometimes he went over the limit, and it's part of the game, and now we've had a discussion and it's fine." What do you think? Why are teams holding back on signing Carlos Sainz? If you have any theories, let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and ring that notification bell for the hottest F1 news.